going to just send it off. We had our party mid-year for the SMCAKL, so I don't know who here came to the SMCAKL. Cool. We had a really great party with the SMCAKLs, and we are planning to do those again next year. I just got the panel guys. Just come sit at the front, guys. So firstly, as always, we want to thank Vodafone and Oracle for their fantastic support. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, and we really value their sponsorship. It's been a great coming up to 2 years now that we've been down here. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. So what I would like to do is, we were sort of looking for a shiny, bright thing to do, and then Jimmy Hunt raised his head, and you might have heard him recently about Live More Awesome. So I'm going to ask Jimmy to come up now and tell you about his fantastic project. And I'll give him a hand because he's done something really good. Now, who here has seen his work, has met Jimmy before? A few. Well, Jimmy, tell me about it. The floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I probably won't even take that long. I have a charity. It's called Live More Awesome, and we help people in New Zealand with depression. Massive problem. We need more charities like us. We hope more people help, but we're doing what we can at the moment. And we like to do things a little bit differently. And so our fundraiser at the moment, again, we did it last year, but we're building the world's biggest water slide. This year it will be out by Bethel's Beach. This year, last year was pretty average from what we would say, but this year it's 600 metres. It is completely inflatable, which is pretty cool, and it will be almost twice the length of the next biggest water slide in the world. We've had some sponsors fall through. And so we've been left with a very short time frame in order to raise a bunch of cash. And so what we've done is we've put a little bit of a fundraiser together where you can get tickets to this water slide as well as a few other things. And we have until Monday, 8 p.m. in order to raise the money because we need to start building the slide next Tuesday in order to get it done in time. If you are even remotely interested in having the day of your life on the world's biggest water slide, please go to worldsbiggestwaterslide.com. You can get yourself some tickets and some other things as well. And because you guys are obviously influential in the social media scene, we would really love any help in getting it as far as we can in terms of media, databases, blogs, emails, anything. We're a charity with no funding, and we're just trying to do really big, cool things to help as many people with mental health issues as we can. And we appreciate any help that you can give us. Thank you very much.
Now, what is your Twitter handle?
Oh yeah, our Twitter handle is Live More Awesome. So,
and everyone tweet now. Just send out a tweet, say buy tickets, go to the site and buy tickets.
And send people to worldsbiggestwaterslide.com. That's where everything is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm just going to ask the world's greatest fix-it guy, Dylan, to... Oh, he fixed it. Just by, I know he didn't. Just by saying his name, I saw that this one screen that is doing a total spaz. And then we'll get into it. So while Dylan is doing that, I'm going to... No, he's going to do something with my computer. Technology, eh? Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is introduce the panel. So we'll ask the guys to come up. We have Aaron Burkina. He's got to pronounce his last name for me correctly. Burkina from Getty Images. We've got Bradley Ambrose, who is a freelance, freelance photographer. Carla Sivich from Spy and Herald on Sunday. And Mark Sager, who's from AUT and is our virtual technology guru. Oh, University of Auckland, sorry. I'm an AUT graduate, so that's my brain. And what's the lab that you're at? The Laboratory for Animal Technologies. Was anyone here SMCAKL last year? Yes, it was fantastic, and that was his virtual reality creative. Everyone's joking. Sorry, I must just get this up and running, and that's it. I really wish I had one of these at home, but yeah. Okay, so today we're looking at the social media image freezing. And when I first started looking at this, I'm just going to sort of one, get my nerves settled. So when I first started looking at this, it was actually overwhelming and trying to figure out what to talk about because the volume of images these days is just incredible. And I was trying to find out how many images are uploaded. I found a little bit of information. So if you look at Instagram, this is every minute, roughly 30,000 photos a minute. Look at Facebook, 2,800 to 300 photos uploaded every minute. They estimate that this year alone, we will have 8 billion photos will be uploaded in 1 year. So it's just phenomenal, this change. So what we thought we would do with this social media is look at how this technology has changed, what are the implications if you're involved in the media photography industry, where the future is going, and how it's used now, how it's affecting media. So I think we've got a fantastic panel that's given us a really wide range of everything. So what I wanted to kick off with is, I actually wanted to start with Bradley, and I'm just going to give you both, if you got your mics, if you just kind of sit down and Bradley. Now, did you see all the photos that we were cycling through earlier? Bradley is, how would you describe it, an intriguing photographer, a freelance photographer?
Yeah, I guess adventure photographer.
Adventure photographer, so he's living the dream, basically.
There's not many people with that job title, so might as well take it and own it.
So I'm just going to change this over to the live stream. Okay, here we go. So we're up and running. Oh. Dylan! That's how you do it. Fantastic. So I first met Bradley a long time ago at the Auckland Up, and that was, what, 8 years ago, 10 years ago maybe now?
Probably close to 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years ago. So what I was interested in asking, he's your freelance photographer, he's a media photographer, he works in the industry, but you're also very protective of your copyright. So what I wanted to ask all of the guys straight off is, what is the biggest change, and I'm going to say to you now, over the last 10 years, or the last even 20 years, since you've been in the industry when you started to now, as far as the whole digital images, because you're all working with images that you see has really happened over your sort of time in the industry?
I would say the biggest...
Now, you have to hold the mics up quite close, otherwise in the back.
Okay, well the biggest difference is when I first started, I was in the dark room shooting black and white film. And to basically steal my images back then, you had to carry a photocopier around, and it was in the newspaper and or in books, and yeah, you just basically had to photocopy it. Whereas now, if my images are out there, they can just be taken with a snap of the finger.
Yeah. Okay, Aaron, what about you? I know you might. Aaron's got one.
In terms of the biggest changes that we've seen in the industry,
Yeah.
Getty's a little bit different because we knew that digital was coming and looked to the internet and digital photography as a route to the market as opposed to a problem. The big change really, which is a more recent change, is the advent of mobile technology, social platforms and sharing has caused some issues, as Bradley was saying, in terms of the ability to use content that you don't own the copyright of. 3 or 4 years ago, before social platforms, the issue existed, but now the issue is huge.
Yeah. Ricardo?
I guess for me personally, because I've only been in your industry officially for 3 years. 20 years ago I was in the social pages and now I've been together. 20 years ago everyone had more privacy and now they don't.
Yeah. So privacy is really a thing of the past, though.
Well, it's up for question.
It's up for grabs, really, isn't it? Yeah. And Mark's, I'm interested from the facial recognition and the technology. I mean, how long has that been going that you can track people? Are we all thinking it's new, or is it really been around for quite some time?
It's really exploded probably in the last couple of years. So you would have noticed when you could start searching images on Google, and you could start using things like Google Goggles, and that's where there was some big jumps in the artificial intelligence technology for recognising images, and that probably has an impact on copyright as well, because now it's easier to find an image that you might have used, so it'll find similar images. And you know, there's a lot of images out there, and they keep spamming the world. So you know, all power to whoever chases them down.
I think he's at the end of the row there. So Bradley, coming back to you, as a photographer in this day and age, you have to find the work, compete against others, protect the work. So looking at, like you're saying, you started out with the black and white photos. So now what's it like for you? How are you finding with this massive, like 800 million images? Everyone has a smartphone, everyone has a digital camera, everyone thinks you're a photographer. What is that like out there for you?
Well, it's extremely difficult. I think one of the things that the internet has done is actually devalue photography as a career.
Can everyone hear down the back? Okay, cool. Just shout out if you can't, because the sound here, the acoustics in here are quite cracked, so we need people just to keep mics up.
You know, years ago, if you sold a photograph to a paper, you got a set amount. You know, it was only hundreds of dollars, and you know, you only needed to do a few photographs every week, and you were fine. Nowadays, you're basically having, I'm basically having to sell 10 photographs online to make up for what one photo used to be. But with everyone, they want, you know, the audience wants immediacy, and they want to be there, they want to see it as soon as possible. And, you know, me, if I'm chasing news in Auckland, or if I'm overseas filming or photographing volcanoes, etc., it's, you're not going to see my photograph straight away, but I still need to be out there. I still need to put these images out there, which is where the iPhone comes in. So, you know, I'll be taking the photographs with my experience, with you know, cameras that I know how to use. I know how to use or read the light in situations, and you know, it's the old story of waiting for the decisive moment, which is where photographers actually are better than most people with their cameras, because they know what they are doing.
Yeah.
But I still get the iPhone out, and I still take photographs just to get those images out there. Just a small image that I don't care too much, that there's not too much value with the image, you know, for printing or for a story, but just to show, hey, this is where I am, I'm still alive, and it's just, you have to do it. You have to actually hold hands with the internet. You have to get those images out, because if you don't, you do get swallowed up by all these other people.
Well, then kick it over to Aaron with Getty Images, because for you, how do you filter out all that noise? How do you discern who to pick up and who not to? How do you decide, what's the criteria for deciding who you're going to pick up? Do people just apply, okay, I'm a photographer, here's my image, or does it go through some sort of filter?
Yeah, so we curate and edit all the pictures that we license on our sites to make it easier for our clients to find what they're looking for. And this is kind of the first kind of part of the process. I mean, we have two sides to our business. One, shooting youth, sport and entertainment content. So professional editorial photographers, and the cost of investment in that area is still quite high, and the cream still rises to the top. You know, when the likes of Ricardo want to run a picture, they've only got one space for a certain picture, so they want the best picture. So it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 pictures out there, they will choose the best picture. So you still have to be talented and create a good picture for it to be used. On the creative side of the business, yeah, the cost or the investment to become a photographer has certainly decreased. And to Bradley's point, you know, the internet is accelerated the ability for people to make their imagery available. It's kind of a perfect storm in terms of the cost of the technology to create a great picture, the internet, and smartphones mean there's a lot of imagery out there. But you still have to create good, unique content in order for it to be used. You know, a budding photographer, you're going to go out there, don't go out and take a picture of Mitre Peak because there's about 10,000 of those pictures available anyway. Go out and create something unique and something great, and people will find it. You know.
And that's interesting, coming to Ricardo, with the style of photography, like news thrives on exclusivity. So, and we were talking before about the paparazzi used to be able to make huge amounts of money from that. Like, I remember when Madonna was first having her baby, you know, there was like this huge chase. And then you see this acceleration now with people passing her on the street and taking a photo, yeah, of a celebrity. So, how are you finding that world, this world now, where exclusivity may have disappeared? How do you keep on top of that?
Okay, so three things. First of all,
Just check the mic on.
are we okay? These guys are both right. You're talking about capturing a moment in a story, you know, in a picture, and we'll buy that any time off these guys. And the photo leads. But it would be true to say if a PR agent or an agent's pitching us a story, we will say, well, please, could you lay off the Instagram of that party, etc., etc. In saying that, we do need to also divide what's printable and copyright, which we've been arguing about outside, and what goes on digital. And Spy, in its wonderful Sunday format, is in print. So, you know, questions on that I'll get is, I think people should know with, you're going to call me a gossip columnist, it's restricting my access to you. I spend a lot of time building relationships and keeping, let's just say Facebook, I'm not very good at Twitter, but with Facebook, I will ask permission. You know, look, that picture's up there. I'm alerting them that I'm watching them, and I'm not really watching them, but I, you know, for Norrie Montgomery, our pictures editor, on a Friday, I will also, the best thing about all of this is we get to facial recognition and spell check and make sure we actually get names on the right people and we're correct there. But when it comes to celebrities and their access and what's available online now, I guess that's the reason why we create a selfie of the week, because a lot of people, you know, promoting themselves, etc., we've got that there. But I think in your original question, you were saying, do agents suffer from this digital age? And they don't, because I'll go back and I'll talk about, if you want to know, the fake pack and the agents that actually plant their celebrities in pictures and then sell them in women's magazines. And, you know, that still hasn't changed. Even we were arguing about Kim and Kanye and how they can own their image online, they still won't publish before Vogue's publishing their pictures of them. So it's that kind of scale I'm bringing into focus.
It's an interesting world. So I'm just trying to see how the facial recognition technology now. So coming across Mark, if we look at all these things coming together, are you seeing a world where we don't even have to bother with agents? I mean, this is sort of the two-way street between copyright, and I probably have to go back to, we probably have to address copyright. So where do we all see the copyright thing going? Because it is so easy to download images. It's so easy to put the reverse, now Google has a reverse image, I want something like this, so easy to find people. How can you protect, and I know Brad, you're really staunch about protecting copyright. Getty, you have search metadata, don't you, to find out copyright. So how is that going to work? What are the challenges of that? And I'll probably start with Brad here. to talk about what you do to protect your copyright.
I guess one of the first things is when we ingest photographs into our laptops, we ingest metadata and caption details. And in that, it has our copyright, it has our email address. And one of the reasons for that is if your photograph is out there, there sometimes is an excuse that we could not get a hold of you to use your image. We saw it, we had, it was time sensitive, and so we just used it anyway and up you. But with having the email address, it's pretty much immediate. If I'm in the country or Wi-Fi or just a coverage basically, anybody can get in contact with me straight away if they did their job properly. And it's generally, most papers and most agencies do look at that, do follow the rules, but then you have to be careful of those that don't. And I think a big one we had recently, it was MSN used images from us, and they just went and used it, and they said basically they used it because everyone else does it, and generally it will take 2 conversations via email before they'll pay up. The first one is saying no, it's in the public domain, which is a load of rubbish, and then the second one is they'll try and ignore you, or they'll just say, well, we've forwarded you to the lawyers, and the lawyers will try another argument. But it's when you start doing it again, that's when they go, hey, this person isn't going to go away, and then they start paying out. So you do have, on one hand, you have the good people that actually, do acknowledge your copyright, and they do go out and they track you down and use your image. And then you have others that, because it's such a very cutthroat business, and people want immediacy, that they will just steal your photographs or your video and just use it. And then you have to actually spend part of your time, actually only a small part of your time is photographing it. A lot of your time is actually chasing down those that take it.
Well, this thing is directly towards getting, because you have on both sides of it, you protect copyright, but then you've now, quite interesting about how you've now just done this huge release of non-commercial use with attribution. So you could just tell us a bit about that. It's a really interesting development.
Yeah, sure. So at Getty Images, we've always thought that the opportunity to license digital content far outweighs the risk in piracy. And if you take the Getty Images or the photo library industry versus the music industry, in the very early days of digital, you'll see 2 very different routes. And the music industry has really ended up where the image library business is, but they've taken a lot longer to get there. Now, our view is really is that most people will legitimately want to license an image for commercial use because they want the warranties and protection that come out of a legitimate license. But what's happening now, or the issue that we're dealing with now, is the social media, the use on social media, and that consumers or the general public don't want to pay for the use of imagery. They don't necessarily respect or know about intellectual property, and there's so much content out there they think it's just okay to share it. Now, we took the view that, and we've always taken the view that you can't swim against the tide. You've got to go where social media is going. You've got to go with the trends because generally technology and the public, what they're doing is going to overcome any stoppages that you're trying to put onto it. So earlier this year we made a big bold step and basically have said that for about 50 million images, which is the vast majority of our catalogue, is that our images can be used for free online via what we call an embed code, so via embed. So if the image is not used for commercial use, it's associated with a brand, then we're quite happy for the general public and log in.
So define not for commercial use, because this seems to be quite a wide area.
Yeah.
What is commercial use?
So commercial use is in association with a brand or product. Yep. So a newspaper, a book, a news gathering website is an editorial use. But a blog or the use on your social media page or a social media platform for personal use is a non-commercial use. So you can essentially go to get images, find the image that you're looking for, and embed it in your tweet, embed it in an interest, embed it in any HTML code. And the way that we see it is that we better control our content and understand how people are using our imagery through metadata and tracking than we are to try to find the right go-to-market. Yeah. And the idea is we represent photographers, so we're trying to return royalties that we make through the sale of that content to our photographers. So, without a doubt, the way that YouTube monetize their content, so you can pick up a music track or a video off YouTube and embed it into your Facebook page, and if there's ad revenue to be had there, then you'll gain that back as the copyright owner, and that's certainly the model that for the use of our content for non-commercial use that will go down.
But Getty is quite vigilant with also when it's used for commercial use. So you have how do you do track metadata, don't you?
You track metadata.
So the thing that fascinates me, and that's what I ask Mike about now, is how do you do that? What is it behind, what is the technology that enables, what was it, 800 billion images? How does this facial recognition work? How does this metadata tracking work? How did it get so powerful?
So there's a sort of technique called deep learning, which is a neural network technique which is coming out recently, and that sort of really jumped the ability for these recognition algorithms to pick
So
stuff
who
up.
developed that?
It's been developed at some Canadian universities and things like that, and all these people have been employed by Google now. There's all kinds but basically you'll find all these algorithms are running on, we use these algorithms in our lab, they run on Google, they run on Facebook and all these things, and they work on a whole lot of images, and you've got lots of tagging that's happening. So every time you send a picture and you write anything, you're giving people information for free. So what you're doing is if you put a picture in your Facebook page and you write anything about it, if you put the name of the person on there or write anything about it, those are all giving context to the image, right? So then what the computer does is it just trawls the internet, and it just gets the image and it gets the context, and it just looks at the relationship there. And it'll look at links and things like that, so it'll figure out, oh, this person's related to this person through this text to this picture, and it just starts building a massive big network of who you're connected to, how you feel about things, all kinds of stuff. So it's basically people, by putting information out there, are giving the machine learning systems information.
But who owns these machines? It's always follow the money, so why is that technology there? Who has put this technology in place to track us?
Well, the obvious sort of ones are like Google and Facebook. They're people with very, very big systems which control the web and build massive databases and process tons and tons of data to essentially create these sort of associations. So, but how this stuff happens is that you've got lots of research. There's all kinds of competitions out there, like who can do the best sort of image recognition. Like, so there's, for example, facial recognition. I think it was this year there was some algorithm exceeded human ability for facial recognition, and so there's lots of people developing these different systems, and something's good, then a company like Google will hire them. They're in there, they'll build it into their system. So they're doing all the stuff behind the scene. So I'll go on about Google for a bit because I think it's kind of my perspective on it is we are living in like what you'd consider a really bad science fiction movie right now, and you know Google knows.
As long as it's not the Matrix, okay, we're going to get the rest of the Matrix.
It's actually not too far off that. And the actually I was just in Sydney recently and I saw the Matrix, the film The Matrix with the Sydney Opera. The Sydney Symphony Orchestra playing, and that was quite cool because The Matrix was actually filmed in Sydney, so that was a kind of simulation type experience. But I was saying.
Facial recognition, you were in Sydney watching The Matrix, we're living in a Matrix
I remember
world.
that.
Yeah. We're all about to wake up and we're in the slime. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
We've taken the red pill or the blue pill. Which one should we take?
Yeah, and I've completely forgotten what I was saying
Oh.
before that. So we're in basically a bad science fiction movie. I don't know who's read the book Snow Crash. There's lots of things which are happening right now, which, like, I went to one talk a while ago, and the guy was saying, things like Facebook is there's a giant robot, like, observing the lives, and nobody knows what its intent is, right? So the sort of thing about Google, which is, they seem to be good guys that are kind of running it, we just don't know. Facebook, don't know, right? Other companies out there, we don't know what their intent is with all the data. So I was actually talking to somebody from Facebook a little while ago, and he was telling me, what they do with your data. And they are processing every single image, they're mining all these things, they're looking at your facial expressions, and just to know how this goes, we take one picture from this room, and there'll be two people sitting next to each other, right? Take another picture from a rugby match or something like that. Oh, those two people are sitting next to each other. Okay, there's a relationship there. Okay, and that's just one thing. And then,
Is this dot? Is it dot that they're talking about that I was listening to? So you're tracking the dots all the time to see all the dots connect?
so you just do, like, for example, if we took a picture of this room, you could just basically scan across here, pretty much identify almost everybody in the room, and you'll then build who's sitting next to who. You look at who they're texting, all this sort of stuff just builds up, and then you look at any sort of media, like it could be media off TV or whatever. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning because I haven't talked about video yet, so I can come back to that later.
Uh-oh. So this intrigues me, and this is what I asked Ricardo about on the human side of it. Why are we so compelled? Like, it kind of comes back to the reality show, like with a gossip columnist. You don't make people, you don't force people, you don't ask people, they come to you, don't they? So why are we so compelled to share our lives?
I can assure you a lot of them don't come to us and they do themselves out there. Look,
But they do, like all the actors and actresses and celebrities.
why are you communicating on social media? And a lot of people's ownership of social media is interesting too, and it's very much my Facebook. Well, no, it's Facebook, and it's my Twitter. We're arguing before that it is my Twitter. But you're putting out there, for 1 to 10 people, they can still read me those characters down the phone if you block me. I'm not a stalker, but I will go on a little bit about, I think people are more and more wanting attention. I think they're lucky if they make print. Some people will disagree with me. But with the facial recognition stuff, I mean, that's myself drunk in the back of a taxi. Where is that footage in the taxi coming on all the cameras going up around town, the ownership, Five Eyes, all those things. It goes above editorial and media guidelines on what you publish and what you don't, and ownership. And it does go up to, as I said in my thing, privacy, and I really don't think we have it anymore, especially with what you were saying.
One of the things which because a lot of the stuff I've been involved in is creating digital faces for film and all kinds of different things. And one of the interesting issues that come about is people's likenesses. Like, we can't go and make a model of Elvis, right? Because his estate owns his likeness and so forth. Now, one of the things which sort of intrigues me is that you can take a shot in Queen Street, a bunch of people walking down the street. We could, in my lab, we could pretty much make a 3D talking head of that person.
Oh.
And that's a public image, because I think if you're in I don't know what the laws are, but I think if a photograph is taken in public space, then you've got rights to to use that image and printed anywhere. Now, if it's in private,
For, our understanding is, our view or understanding is that you can take the picture and print it anywhere for editorial use.
editorial use.
Yeah, if it's for commercial use and you don't have a release from that talent. then you
Well,
don't.
that's interesting, because we've got the three sort of pathways here. So there's Brad, you go out, you tap somebody for Ricardo.
No, we don't like perhaps, but
Well, you do a
we
shot,
think-
yeah. And then it ends up in getting images without that person actually having consented somebody's wedding, celebrity on the street, that sort of thing. So there's a bit of a moral dilemma there. So how do you all feel about that?
But I think that, if I did that sort of thing, not that I
Not
do
Pam,
it
you took a
before,
shot of somebody's wedding on the public domain, in the public arena.
well, let's remember that.
Which then Ricardo said this person got married at the church, puts it in Spy because you're a celebrity, it then gets licensed under Getty as an editorial image. That's the pathway.
I guess, see, I would look at it as an editorial photographer taking a photograph of something in a public place
Yeah.
or within view of a public place, then the person that I have photographed basically has no right to stop that image being used in an editorial way. And there's been so many times where I've had people, well, I've been assaulted so many times.
And that's even without
I'm
a
glad you can
camera.
laugh, but I actually think it was Keisha Carson Hughes' mum that shoved the camera so back into my face that I went back to work with a black eye. And what she didn't realise was about 2 or 3 weeks earlier I was at a barbecue with her, having a chat with her. And she just saw the camera and, she just hit out at that camera. But as an editorial photographer, if it's an image in view of a public place or within view of a public place, and we're not talking with a huge telephoto lens, but with something that's just basically average.
And in New Zealand, we are actually very moderate, really, aren't we? Because most celebrities who come out here, we were just talking before about Daniel Craig down in Dunedin. I mean, 2 students hit him up and take a selfie. Big deal. If he had been in the States, nothing much, he would have been pursued relentlessly. So New Zealand, by and large, is not that culture, is it?
Well, there is that. There is a few specialty photographers that do that,
But not
and
many.
are very good at it.
Yeah.
And generally, editorial photographers cringe when they're given that sort of assignment. Because it is specialty, it's a lot of waiting around, and when you do photography, you go into your different branches wanting to do those photographs. And perhaps is a very, very specialist style.
Yeah, and I want to ask you is curious, this whole thing now with selfies, with Instagram, we're talking about this, is this now like the cultural shift that paparazzi will start to disappear? That celebrities are now taking their own photos, their own selfie, their own Instagram to maybe kill paparazzi shots? And on the other hand, anytime anything happens, if you look anywhere now, there's a brigade of people standing there taking photos. So is that collapsing the market for paparazzis?
I won't talk for paparazzi. News engages them. Women's magazines can afford them.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky if we stumble across a picture and then we can buy it off you. But look, I've forgotten what you're saying now, but in following up from what you said on the wedding, I'm not going to invade someone's privacy that hasn't put themselves out there as a public figure, or more especially, the reason why we would be sending a pack there is because they've sold the wedding for 10, 15 grand these days to a magazine, and we want the scoop, and I won't apologise for that, that's just the way.
Oh, it's a media business, yeah.
And we'll get to selfie, other kind of celebrity things soon, but no, because there'll always be the context and the story capture. And I'll put it this way, telling a story through Instagram and social media is lazy journalism.
Yeah.
And 10 to 20% of the column gets filled up with that and doesn't satisfy me, and it is.
Well, the interesting thing I noticed the other day is how many images of injury are now taken. I saw a story in the Herald, not in any column, about something, and then, you get home, you're a bit tired, you go into Reddit, the next moment you're trapped in the black hole of time that is injured. It's like, they just totally lifted the story. And Reddit has even banned Huffington Post now from their sites, and just banned them from their sites, because all they're doing is lifting social media photos.
Yeah, and I call that lazy journalism, and I will admit 10% of the column can often be filled with that, but I would like to take it further now. I was reading my own paper a few Sundays back and we had an article on drones, and I was like, I was looking out the window for the rest of the day, and I think people should really start to look at what's above them.
Yeah.
I know a number of journalists that are practicing with drones. I know a few that have gone to Bali for a few celebrity weddings and crashed their drones. It's an expensive hobby these journalists are doing, but apart from their facial recognition, the access to that, drones are the way of the future for, I have to say, perhaps a few news stories.
Well, that's interesting because that comes back again, and I think this is one of the most interesting things, and probably what we're interested in is privacy. So all of this relates to privacy. What you're saying is that privacy gone?
I think it was The Edge. Someone set up me and my partner at the time when we were writing, and they set us up with a fake hack, and it was a stripper across the road from their radio station having sex with a man each day. And the question was whether to use these pictures of inside their apartment. And I can tell you the answer from me morally was no. I'm pretty sure I knew by the end of the week it was no. And thank God, because we were being had anyway. So,
Yeah.
But no, we will not print pictures of inside your house or inside your pocket.
But
Unless you put your house up on the internet.
on the internet. So that's what we're about from social media. So the moment it goes out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
So is that the reality? So for Getty, for everybody, is that the reality? The moment it's up and out, it's out.
The first thing I'm going to set the record is that we don't do PAP, intrusive PAP. There's all sorts of different types of PAP, but we certainly don't do intrusive PAP. Our view isn't if an image is sat on the internet, it's right to be used. I mean, there's still a copyright owner that sits behind that image, and you need their permission in order to publish that image. The whole ability to photograph people on the street might seem morally wrong at one end, but at the other end of the scale is the right to photograph any public event, be it a sports event or a concert or a news event. If you start shutting down the ability to take imagery for editorial purposes, then where does it end? The leagues, the concert owners, the politicians might start to dictate whether you can enter an event to take that picture, which is a genuine public interest. So, it might seem morally wrong at one end, but it's the basis of a free society as well.
But how this goes to then the recent iCloud, the whole celebrity new photo thing coming down. And just from a technological point of view, the fappening, yeah. Why, for one, there's several aspects. I'll start with colour. How real is this? Is it really people being stupid enough? I'm a really famous person. I'm going to put lots of new photos on the internet. I think they're protected. How real do you think it was?
Sincerely, we had a beauty queen that her nudes were out there, and her father pleaded the case that, she was suicidal. In that case, we didn't put the nude up. And there was an Aaron Smith picture floating around. We did a story about that nude in here. We didn't put that story up. Some other journalist decided to get jealous of the story, and the photo had been floating around for a while, and she tweeted it. With naked selfies and what you're talking about there, we actually do public notices in Sky saying, don't do this. We'll be the first ones, if it's the right thing. If after we warned you, you do it, but we cannot put your nipples, cannot put your balls in your cock, and we won't. But do you know what people get more angry about than, like Kim and Harris maybe their careers through
Sex tapes.
Julia's not done too badly this year, and I like her through that Insta movie or whatever it was. But people get more angry, even if the story's bad, if their photo's bad. Yeah. And what worries me is, what worries me is the amount of times I post from my own Facebook or Instagram photos, and there's 20 that are wrong, one that's good, but they're all still going up to some class.
Yeah.
And that's how you get someone with a bad photo.
And like the technology, do you know much about the technology? I mean, how really easy is what they were saying is about these attacks? How true is that? Are they just really vulnerable systems?
Well, I don't know much about the vulnerability of the systems, but I'm surprised if they weren't. But also, it's pretty easy to fake things too. So.
Ah. In what way?
Photoshop, I mean, just think of very basic things. I mean, it's like if you, maybe the celebrities would be happy if you did a really good Photoshop.
So with the privacy thing, I might move on from that, because coming to Aaron, we're sort of getting close to time, I'll take some questions. But you now have, with social media, you have moments, which is where we're able to now sell, there is the other avenue that we, instead of just plastering all these images over the internet, we actually start selling them, that we do become our photographers.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the internet and Instagram filters and the quality of imagery that's available from mobile technology means that we have the ability to reach a much greater audience who create user-generated content. So we're talking enthusiast photographers, not professional photographers, and we do have different platforms with gettyimages.com and we have iStock.com, and one is professional content and one is user-generated or enthusiast content. Now there is a crossover, but there's also a distinction on a larger scale between those two. So what we've now have the ability to do is we have an app. If you go to the App Store and you download the Moment app, you can be invited as a photographer to submit your content directly to Getty Images. You can see where it is in the process in terms of being curated, and we have a very instant flow to market. 10 years ago we really suffered because we have great photographers work and we didn't have the ability to get it from camera through the editing process, through the captioning process and up onto the site in a way that would please our computers. Now, with the Moment app, you can take content directly, almost live, and it will also give us the ability to see where there's holes in our content. So our clients will say to us, listen, you don't have any images of X, Y, and Z because we've just spent 2 days looking for them. And so we can put a brief out on the site and our photographer base can submit to that brief.
And can people come to you and say, because I find this issue that in being media, there is very little New Zealand content as far as like the New Zealand business environment or the New Zealand ethnic environment is really, so would that be something people would come to you and say, hey, I really need this sort of images, and you would go to because they have really more local content?
Yeah, that's exactly the type of thing that Moment is used for, yeah.
So to finish up, because I just want to do some questions, we started a little bit late, so I'm going to give us a little time for questions. I'm going to start with Mark, because I could talk to you the whole night. Where are we going? I mean, the evolution of this has been so rapid and so fast, and the technology has outstripped people's awareness of privacy. Where do you see, where is this all going?
Well, I mean, just taking faces, for example, you take a picture of people's faces in Queen Street and you can actually start manipulating those faces. So I think part of privacy comes down to protection of identity, because if there's all kinds of things where you could actually take somebody and make them appear as if they're doing something else. And what's real? So, photographs aren't very real. So people haven't started really doing that too much, but it's very easy to do. The next step, which we're just touching on the surface of still images, is video. So there's new sort of algorithms coming out now where they're analysing what you're doing. So you can have a photograph, which is a still. Wait till you have a drunken, tracked video of you, and it's that type of thing where you're actually being analysed and you're not knowing it. Now, want to also say another thing. We've got Google Glass, which hasn't really come out here, but I think the fuss about that's not that great because you could do it anyway. If you get one of these little spy camera things, which you can get for $100 or something like that, put it in your, in your collar or something like that, and just you could film anything that you want. So you could walk into a bar and film things. Like in San Francisco, the thing is that okay, if somebody's got a good glass, you're aware that they might be filming you, but it's really easy to film people and not be aware of it. And so because the technology is now cheap to do that, there was some rabbi that just got sort of arrested for putting a digital alarm clock with a camera in a woman's showers. And he was a guy that advised, he was like a moral sort of, to the White House, which was sort of, anyway, so these types of things are happening really, really fast, and we've got tons of information out there, and so I think people have got no idea exactly how ubiquitous and easy this technology is. But you have to be relatively have good resources to process it.
Yeah. And
Actually, I was just
Brad,
going to say.
can I ask you, are you happy to talk about your experience? Or?
Well, I was just going to say that I was on a volcano in a Pacific island this year, and Sergey from Google just flew up to the top, and with the Google Glass, and every now and again he'd be raising his hand, pushing them. I don't know what they do or how it works, and it was almost unsettling that is he recording everything that you're doing, and being one of the founders of Google, he could do whatever he likes with it, and what's he going to do? But then again, it was a public place, so I just have to.
Well, volcano, is it? A public?
Or anybody can go there.
Yes. So I'm interested though, what do you see like in 2-3 years' time? Do you think it's going to stay static, the style that you're doing the print journalism, or are you being pressured to do something like the Google Glass, like all these things?
I'm pretty proud of the old Sunday paper, and they do put us up online. And if I started to worry about online, I mean, the real thing is, as long as I think it's a good idea to read the paper, I'm in it as a hobby -- I take responsibility for it, but it's not, I'm actually in advertising and marketing as well. I think if I was talking to people what to do, we're not as responsible, and we could go into brands and shows and why they make you sign a disclaimer, and why the news can run your picture behind. But even like taking a family reunion at a picnic at a park, taking a picture of a couple of people in the family, some people in the background, and then when you get home, the Facebook, I came here to hear you tonight, the Facebook recognition is telling you who they are.
Yeah.
So I think that's all a little scary. I think question everything. So I watched Fox News for a minute today, and revenge porn was the subject. Or porn regard, I won't get it wrong. But that is taking your news from your ears.
Yeah, and it's just been...
And blackmailing and doing all sorts of things. That's illegal. But it's also illegal in 13 states of the US to put someone else's image up online. So there's trolling and all sorts of things in front of the government at the moment. I really do think, if question your local representatives, question the law, and this all does need to be addressed. Privacy does need to be addressed.
Yeah. And Aaron, just going from a commercial point of view, so getting where Getty is now, what are you looking forward? What do you think is going to be the new technology, the new way of imagery? Is it video? Is it 3D? Are you guys looking ahead? What do you think is going to evolve?
We're really positive about the future. We think we don't think there's going to be any one thing like 3D or 3D printing or 4K, but what we envision is that there'll be more social media platforms, there'll be more advancement in mobile technology, and the features of the phones that you have will be amazing. You'll probably be able to shoot 4K, you'll probably be able to shoot a 3D image, you'll probably be able to shoot an image that you can print into a 3D product. But one thing we do know is that the volume of content that we will be ingesting and digesting will increase phenomenally, and there will be tech companies and specialist apps and specialist photography resources that really harness that ability. So I think if we look back in even 2 or 3 years' time from now, we'll be amazed at what our handsets can do and how much content it will be interesting.
So I just want to take a few questions, just maybe 3 or 4, because we're just about running out of time. So, yeah, just shout out.
Yeah, for the guy from Geddes, how much do you think the industry has been devalued when some of our biggest media outlets, like the SMCAKL, will quite obviously go and just pinch images straight off Facebook?
Not much, to be honest with you. I don't think that has been kind of where the devaluation of the industry has come from. Like I said earlier, the manufacturers themselves have given all of you the ability to take a picture today that would have cost $20,000 to buy the photography kit 10 years ago. So that technological advancement has driven some of the devaluation of imagery. The flip side for a commercial photographer is that the volumes of content that we license or that you ingest nowadays is so much higher than it was kind of 10 years ago. I would say that most people in this room have probably looked at 100, 200, 300 pictures today off their mobile phones. You go back 6, 7 years, how many pictures do you look at on your handset? 1, 2.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a balance in there.
Yeah, it's quite frightening, the volume.
So you think there has been a balancing in that volume of demand versus generation?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, the value of imagery has fallen in some areas. Like I said earlier, a unique picture, a good picture still holds its value. But the flip side, there's much higher appetite for imagery. I mean, we're interesting. If you're a client of ours, you'll tell us that we're too expensive. If you're a contributor of ours, you'll tell us that we don't sell pictures for a high enough price. So we're always trying to, work through that line of trying to bring the right pictures to the right person at the right price. But ultimately, the cost of going out and creating that unique image yourself is really the base, is the lever in terms of what that image might be worth.
So how does photographers deal with stuff like Pinterest and Tumblr? Because no one would ever upload their own photos. It's all just reblogged and copy and paste. So is there sort of tools out there that people use, or?
So yeah, Pinterest is an interesting one. So Getty had a relationship with Pinterest because we were aware that quite a significant percentage of the content they sat on Pinterest was our content. But we never paid a licensing fee for that content. Our role is to try and return royalties to our artists for the use of their content, so we had to figure out a way in order to do that. And you have to add value to any relationship that you're striving to create. And the value in a relationship that we had for Pinterest, we figured out, was actually in the metadata and the quality of our content. So if you upload a picture today of a Getty image picture in a low-res form, our APIs actually remove that low-res version, put a high-res version and a metadata-rich version of that image on Pinterest. So that creates a better experience for the viewer on Pinterest, but it also allows Pinterest to gather the data relating to that image. So it might be where it's shot, who it's shot, what brand of shoes the celebrity is wearing, was it taken in this stadium or that stadium, is that picture actually of Mitre Peak or is it of Mount Cook? So it's quite important information, and in terms of their ability to work with their commercial customer base, then metadata is kind of quite important to them. So as an individual, it's really probably quite difficult. And answer to your question, for us it was still difficult, but we had to really work through how do we bring value to a relationship with Pinterest, and this will ultimately allow us to return. We don't get paid a cent for our imagery, but we get we license our data to them and able to return that to our contributors.
So we'll just grab this last person here, and then I've got a question that I want to ask you about that just quickly.
Sorry, so you said pictures taken in public space, essentially, you can do it without asking the talent's permission. What happens, I guess, both morally and legally in terms of children in public spaces?
It's the same. It's the same. And it's sort of getting a bit off topic, but yeah, it's the same. If you can take something in a public place, it's pretty much free. It's up to the editorial discretion more or less, isn't it?
I think this one's a lot louder than my one. It does come down to a moral question that the photographer will take when shooting the image and what it's for. But if it is in a public place or within view of a public place, then it is fair game. Children are fair game. But then again, New Zealand is such a small place that to use an image like, that a parent does not want used, then you're going to have a huge backlash, and you just have to be careful. So it's more of a moral than a legal question, photographing kids. But it's the same.
And I'm just going to take this last question myself, because what you just said, is the future now going to be almost like the movie's product placement? So you will snap, you'll take a shot, you will have something in style online, and people can click on a tag and find out where to buy that celebrity's handbag, and that you will be shooting and licensing and doing all of this, and that hooks into the recognition technology. So is this where it might be going? That product placement is now a part of static as well as movie images, but more dynamic.
Well, not in journalism, I'm sure, but no, you're right. It'll triple, more. Everything he's saying will happen very quickly with the dossiers of what you like, what you don't like, what are you doing, you're being used as a pawn with these metadatas. And the one thing I'll say, the difference between digital and printing with Instagram or Pinterest with copyright is, or even online, is you can cease and desist and delete immediately. You can't with print.
Yeah. But just the one thing that I just reckon this, because what made me think of that, there were two women who were drug dealers who'd been extradited back to the UK, and it was on the Daily Mail, and I was reading the story, and somebody made a comment, I hate to ask this, but does anyone know where she got that bag? So perhaps this is where we're going. So I'm going to wrap on that note, so it's going to be a continuing Brave New World. I want to thank you all for coming. I actually could talk to these guys all night, and I really want to thank you all for coming down. I wish we actually had much longer because I found it really fascinating. So thank you for being part of our panel. As always, I think we've got a little bit of alcohol left tonight, so please finish it up. And we are a volunteer organisation, so if you just take all your trash out, that would be fantastic. Now, next one is going to be our last one of the year. We have drinks always across the road if you'd like to join us. November's going to be our last one, and I think we haven't quite finalised it, but I think it will be social good. But I hope you all come along because it's been a great year, it's been a great 2 years. But most of all, support Jimmy, and it's a fantastic cause, it's a great guy, even if you just support it by tweeting about it. And
Is that Phil?
Jimmy, the guy that's here, yeah.
What's going on there? We can't help.
Yeah, so, and great to see you all, thank you so much. Night.